Hey Scott.
Hey man, what's up?
You want to play some Anchor this weekend?
Dude, I wish, man, but I got fucking drill this weekend.
This has been like the third week in a row, man.
I know, man, I can't help it.
We're going to talk about what to do when you lose momentum with your campaign. Coming up after this. Welcome back, everybody. My name's Ryan.
I'm Scott.
And today, like I said, we're going to talk about how to keep the momentum in your campaign. So we all get there where it's been a week, it's been 2 weeks, it's been 3 weeks, and you guys have not been able to get into play.
Right.
So what are some things that you can do to salvage that campaign? And when do you just call it quits?
Yeah, absolutely. But before we get into that, if you guys like these videos, go ahead and like and share it, and tell your friends about us, and hit that subscribe button if you feel like it. But to go with your question, man. So honestly, and we've talked about this before in a video. For me, 4 weeks is dead. But there are some ways that you can try to revive it, and there are some ways that you can go ahead and cap it off and give it that ending, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about here today. So the first thing that you can do is once you realize that your campaign's dead, and here's some signs. All right, here are the signs that you need to look for, the pulse to check on your campaign. You post stuff, and you're like, hey, we're gonna game this weekend. You guys want to play? I got this and that and that and the other. And don't get me wrong, things happen, right? Like I say that I have drill, right? Like you come over to my house, I'll be in a uniform and I'll be doing stuff. Work happens, those kinds of things. But sometimes there just isn't an excuse. Yeah. Like, I got to change a light fixture in my house or something stupid like that, which something that takes like 10 minutes and they can't come do it. When you start seeing signs like that, it's time to go ahead and hang that campaign up. Just go ahead and put it on the shelf like we talked about, and maybe come back to it later. And so the few ways that I've found to kind of handle this, if it's dead, one of the better things that you can do is go ahead and put out a summary so go ahead and type up a summary of what happened throughout the campaign. If you're not doing that already, I personally do that already, and I put it on Scabbard, so that's easy for everyone to find. But put out a summary and then put out an ending to whatever story that you had. Let them know how it was going to end or what the next piece of it was.
Yeah. This provides some closure.
Yeah. So this is one of two things. Either one, it provides closure, and everyone feels a little bit, you feel a little bit better about it, and you can go ahead and close the book on that. And if you do your own homebrew worlds, like we do, you can add that to your timeline and move on to the next thing. Or you'll start getting some emails, some phone calls, texts, whatever it is, however you guys communicate about, like, hey man, this is really cool. What happens after that? And if you get 2, 3, 4 people doing that, well, you've rekindled your game a little bit. And then you can go ahead and move on to the next chapter after that summary, right? So if you say, the bad guy wins and he destroys this castle that they were trying to save, and you put that out to your players, and they're like, "Oh, well, wait a minute. We want to stop that." Well, it's too late to stop that. But what you can do is you can deal with the aftermath. And a lot of times they'll jump back on that, and they'll be like, "Okay, cool," and you've moved on, and now you're essentially playing another campaign, another story. Reset up everything. Reset your session 0, which we'll talk about in another video. Reset your expectations and go forward. If they want new characters, let them have new characters. If they want to play their old characters, let them play their old characters. I've found that typically after a session kind of wanders off, they want to play new players, new characters.
Yeah.
And that's,
a lot of times that's their character doesn't turn out like they thought it would.
Yeah.
You got those min-maxers that aren't maxing out quite as fast, and they want to try something else different.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things I like to do, you talk about starting that second campaign, a new campaign. I actually will harken back on that previous campaign a little bit, kind of tie that into your new storyline, because then it just brings your whole world alive that much more. Because they'll be like, "Oh man, I remember that." We couldn't finish that story. So that's another good thing to do if it ends. If it continues on, then that's great too.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have everybody to continue on. You can come up with a story to kill off half your guys if you have to.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you'll, I've done in the past where, 1, 2, 3 players go ahead and die because they can't make it back. And part of their quest is just trying to either bring them back or free their souls or whatever it is. Not where the players come back, but the characters are given a happy ending, so to speak. And that has always worked out pretty well in the past as well. How to rekindle your game. So other than this summary, which works as either a closure or it might work, you can send out hints every week. You can be like, hey guys, I'm still working on this. I'm still really invested in it. I'm still really wanting to play. Engage your players, right? 9 out of 10 problems can be solved with communication. Yes, life happens, but if the interest is gone, if the interest is waning, and you're not reaching out to them, they probably think that you're done with it too. Because GM burnout is absolutely a thing. And sometimes GMs do just vanish into the darkness and you never hear from them again. And that's probably the worst when everybody's really into the game. And
one of the ways to look for that is if you're getting conversations from people, say you put it out saying, hey, let's play this weekend, and people are actually responding saying, oh, I can't this weekend, or I can't Saturday, but I can Friday. Right. They still have interest.
Yes.
It's when you put it out and you don't get any response back.
Correct.
That's when it's completely done. That's when you know you can write that conclusion, with that summary, with that conclusion, and just close it out and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and it's important to know that this isn't anything about you. It isn't anything about your game or your world or your story. It happens to all of us. We all have great, fantastic ideas that sometimes life just gets in the way. I know that for us, we've talked about it a few times on the channel, that some of us are military, and so the summer, we try not to game so much just because someone's gonna be traveling somewhere.
If we do, we resort to board games or one-shot games like Ravenloft, stuff like that, to get that fix, but not have to put down the commitment for the 3 months of summer when we know everybody's going to
be gone. And you got kids, you take them on vacation and those kinds of things. Another thing is we have a prosecutor that's with us, and if there's a murder case, he's unavailable. Yep. He's got work, he's got things he's got to do, but he may even ghost, but he has a reason, and he's more than welcome to always come back, and he will usually. But knowing your players, that's just part of knowing your players and knowing their lives. And what's in there. If you got a dude that just had a baby, he's going to be gone. All right? Or they're going to be gone. They have more responsibilities. They're probably not going to be in that campaign anymore. And you just let them go and understand that that's life, right? So the biggest piece, of course, is reaching out and trying to communicate. That's it. I mean, if it's dead, it's dead. Let it go. If you can rekindle it, that's fantastic. I will say that if I were to put a percentage on how many games I've seen rekindled after 4 weeks, it's probably
40.
Probably like 30,
really?
25, 30%. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. And if it does, it's definitely not the same. The GM is trying to remember whatever they were doing, what storyline they had going on. Honestly, after 4 weeks, it's best just to scrap it. And like I said, put that conclusion together, move on with a new campaign, just in that same world, and that way you can all start fresh, including your GM.
And again, don't take it personally.
Yep.
It doesn't mean you're a bad GM. It doesn't mean you're a second-rate GM. It just means that either interest has waned or real life has come up.
Yeah, absolutely. So
let us know down below if you've ever had a campaign that was salvaged in what way you used to salvage it.
Yeah, we would love to hear it.
Or when you think that it's time to hang up and you call it a day.
Yep.